Hey guys, Ben here, and today we're talking about how to squat with perfect technique, how to find your squat stance, how to speed up your progress, the best warm up, and also how to deal with injuries. To get started, position yourself under the bar, lift up, keep a slightly wider than shoulder width stance, take 2 to 3 steps backwards, and squat down to 90 degrees. You want to make sure your chest is up with a slight gaze forward, and your torso is parallel to your shins. Do not excessively lean forward like this. You want your knees to track over your feet without knee valgus, or when your knees go inward. The best way to fix this is just to consciously drive your knees outward as you lift up. If you still have this problem, then using a booty band and placing it above your knees can train your body to drive the knees outward as well as strengthen your hip abductors, which is the root of the issue. Another issue is your knees going over your toes. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can place additional strain on your knee joints, especially when lifting heavier weights. Another small mistake is when racking the weights. Instead of trying to lift the barbell into each hook, just walk directly into it. That's the easiest way to rack your weights. Finally, shoe selection is important. Ideally, use shoes with a heel lift or flat shoes. Running shoes have too much cushion, and it's going to reduce your power output. It's going to reduce ankle stability, which will increase your risk of injury. If you don't have the right shoes, then just go barefoot. This will help strengthen your feet and ankles. It's going to give you a better connection to the ground as you can grip the floor with your feet. Since we all have different anatomy, there's no one correct squat stance, and what may work for me may not work for you. I find the best squat stance for myself and many of my clients is slightly wider than shoulder width with your toes slightly turned out. You can do a hip test, and if you have more range of motion when your knees are pointed away from you like me, then a wider stance may be better. If you have the opposite, then you may prefer a more straight stance. A more narrow or straight stance will be more quad dominant as there's more knee flexion, whereas a wider stance will distribute more of that weight onto our hips. Many people can benefit with using heel lifts as well to aid in ankle mobility when they squat. You can use dedicated lifts or even just place small plates under your heels and squat down. A lot of my clients say this feels better on their knees when they use them. A great test for ankle mobility is to kneel down on the floor with 1 foot, 1 fist length away from the wall. If you can't touch the wall without your heel coming off the ground, then what you can do is perform a box stretch to stretch out the front of your ankles, as well as foam roll your calves or perform a calf stretch to work on your ankle mobility before you squat. If you feel a pinching sensation when you bring your arms back to grab the barbell, you can stretch your lats out beforehand to help work on that. You can also perform a swimmer stretch to increase your upper body mobility, as well as perform external rotation before you lift to work on this. You may see somebody in the gym wearing a belt when they squat or deadlift, and the concept behind this is called bracing, which is creating intra-abdominal pressure, which can reduce the load on our spine and improve stabilization. I personally avoid belts as we can brace naturally. This doesn't mean squeezing your abs, but instead what I want you to do is before you lift up, cough out, and as your stomach expands, hold that position to keep your core tight. If you feel your back gets tight when you squat, then during your rest breaks, get on the ground and perform 3 sets of 10-second cobras to extend your spine. To warm up before a squat, I recommend foam rolling your outer and your front quads for 20 to 30 seconds, as well as your adductors or groin. After this, we move into active stretches. I would start off with the greatest stretch ever, and I would do 3 rounds of this for 5 seconds each side. Then go into an inchworm, do about 5 reps of this to work on hamstring flexibility. Afterwards, we could do a hip flexor stretch with a thoracic bend. And finally finish off with some cat-cow to work on some spinal flexibility as well. Before working out, you don't want to hold a static stretch for over 30 seconds, as overstretching a muscle can decrease your strength and also increase your risk of injury. Performing an explosive movement like 3 max jumps can excite your nervous system due to a phenomenon called post-activation potentiation and can actually help you lift heavier as well. Afterwards, start with a pyramid set where you grab a light weight on the barbell or use a dumbbell, and then slowly increase the weight over 2 to 4 sets as you reach your target weight. Start with 5 reps for your first set and then slowly decrease that over time. You don't have to do 10 reps as a warm-up. Start with 5 and just slowly decrease it until you reach your first working set. If you have knee pain when you squat, try squatting a little bit wider and reduce the weight, as well as go for a slow and controlled tempo. Do 3 seconds on the way down, hold for 1 second, and then do 3 seconds on the way up. You can also use heel lifts. That may help as well. If none of these work, then find a quad exercise that does not recreate the pain and work your way back up. So things like a step up might be a better option than a squat. 2 hacks you can use to get stronger is to perform negatives, where you put on 20% more weight than you're used to and lower the weight down as slowly as possible. You could also do an Anderson squat, where you squat the weight at a lower level to help you move past your sticking points. That being said, the best way to get better at squatting is to just squat more and track your weights. have fun with it. Try using a booty band, doing a goblet squat instead, or a front squat. That's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck with your fitness goals.